There is a whole lot more cheating going on than we would ever believe. A little education, I'm sorry to teach people how to cheat, but it's like you aim just for the edge of the pocket and sometimes the ball will go in, but more often than not, it'll rattle in and out the crowd and go, oh.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly happening more than we know.
And in tennis, it happens all the time. Because
the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Super Contest, he's kind enough to join us here in studio, and thank God for that, because on Twitter, he's an awful human being, but in person, well, he's palatable. It's Steve Fezzik, everybody. How you doing?
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. How do you like that for an intro? He's palatable.
I prefer professional, but you know what? I defer to you. It's your show.
You wanted to say something about the promo I just read, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The sport trade, the minus 104, in a nutshell, they're dumbing it down a little bit. So on average, you're going to be able to play at minus 104, but you can put up an offer and maybe only lay minus 102. So that's, it's the future. It's absolutely the future, and Nevada is fighting it. They won't want the competition, but in all these other states, if you're living in Virginia or Colorado or Arizona, wherever they are, I hope they are in Colorado. I know they're in Virginia and Arizona. Yeah, you need a sport trade. Look at the game last night.
New Jersey, Colorado, Iowa, Arizona, Virginia.
Line's 3.5, right? Why lay minus 110 when you can lay minus 102? You know, it just makes so much sense. You want to pay $10 for lunch, or you want to pay $2 for lunch? I like $2.
Do you feel you are a better spokesperson than the CEO himself?
I think sometimes to use your term, you're too close to the sun when you give examples. I would always give the example. I would never give an example where that's complicated. I would hey, the line is painted. It's a Monday Night Football game, and the line is painted 3.5. And now instead of laying full vig minus 110, maybe there's some specials in town in Vegas where you can lay minus 108. And here you can lay minus 102 or minus 104. That's a good deal.
Yeah, you just say it in the words of a bettor. So I understand that. Okay, the other thing we were talking about, obviously that game last night between the Browns and the Steelers, top of mind. We were talking about that earlier. One of the things, you never know what sort of resonates with listeners when I just sort of throw in something. And I just decided at one point, I was like, let me do a couple minutes on this point shaving thing. And you were completely resonated with you. What I was referring to, for those who are just tuning in now, is yesterday it was just confirmed that the FBI, the reports are, the FBI doesn't confirm it because they don't comment on such things. But the Temple ball player, Hasir Miller, or he was a Temple ball player last year, he then since transferred to Va Tech. He never played a game for Virginia Tech because apparently they were the last to know that this scandal happened last year. So they let him go in October. Let him go, not the technical term. But it was a game in March. Again, some of us were at conference tournaments. I was at a WCC, a West Coast Conference game here in Vegas. Matt Holt from U.S. Integrity happened to be in the stands, said hi to him earlier in the game. By the time the game was over, he was gone. Not because Pepperdine sucked and it was a boring game, but he had business to tend to, because that's when it first came down, because across the country, the behavior in a Temple UAB game, the betting behavior was very off. The line moved 6 points. UAB favored by 2. By game time, it was by 8. I mean, that doesn't happen in a random late-season college basketball game. They end up winning, UAB does, by 22. And you said to yourself, what from this?
There is a whole lot more cheating going on than we would ever believe.
That's your belief.
And here's why. Yeah. Every single scandal, and Matty Holt does a great job with U.S. Integrity. I know Matty well, and the policing has gotten so much better. But every person that's getting pulled over for speeding is like driving their McLaren 118 miles an hour.
Right.
I mean, it's like literally world's dumbest criminals. They're trying to get caught. Like case in case, here, let's have the line move 6 points. Instead of being cool, slowly spreading it. Think about if you asked me, Fez, I need to get down 50,000, but you can't move the point spread. Could I do it? Heck yeah, I could do it. Nice and slow. Easy pieces. Go for a little stroll. Yeah. 800 here. 700. Have some friends help me out. Slowly, just like paperhead accounts. No reason to shake the market. And you don't have to lose by 28. Also, it's like you got a little education. I'm sorry to teach people how to cheat, but it's like in The Color of Money. Tom Cruise. He's like, the art of the dump is you aim just for the edge of the pocket, and sometimes the ball will go in, but more often than not, it'll rattle in and out the crowd and go, oh. Mm-hmm. It's so when you miss a shot, you make 98% of the time, then obviously there's going to be scrutiny.
Yeah. The most interesting, by the way, I think you're right. To what degree, I have no idea. But it's certainly happening more than we know.
And in tennis, it happens all the time because all it takes is one person to fix it. And there's been so many scandals. You can't even count them.
Tennis, all the elements are there, right?
Yes.
If you play in a 250 tournament or an ITF tournament, that's not on the main tour, again, there's no teammates, obviously, in tennis, right? So it's just you. And just what you're describing, it's not... oh, look, I double faulted 5 times in a row. It's, you and I were just talking about when you and me play tennis. Those guys are skilled enough where they can just miss by an inch or two, right, or even less. So it's the perfect sport.
And you don't have to always lose when you throw a game.
Right.
You got to say, you know what, I'm going to lose 75% of the time, and it just so happens my opponent can't make any shots. Okay.
Or the spread in a tennis match.
Yes.
You just don't get to the spread.
Or you do get this. Every now and then you say, you know what, I tried to lose, but this guy was so bad, and I can't make it so obvious. I'm just going to have to eat this as a loss.
Well, the economics of that's the key part and parcel of all this, right? So it's like if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars, you're not incentivized to do this. But if you're a college player who's not on NIL, right, who doesn't have a deal, if you are a tennis player who's playing on a lower tour, if you're not one of the top 50 tennis players in the world, by the way, the economics of tennis are really hard. Like if you're 60th ranked, because you're buying, you're paying for your travel, you're paying for your physio, you're paying for your coach to travel with you, you're paying in some cases for your mental coach, right? Like, so if you're on the ITF tour, of course there's the incentive to do that. The thing about the Tim Donaghy case, about Sean Patrick Griffin, who wrote the book, Gaming the Game, who I did an interview with when my podcast was first fledgling. It was 2011, and he came on. We did like 2 hours on the Donaghy scandal. He's amazing. He's a friend to this day. But the most interesting detail of the Tim Donaghy NBA betting scandal was, of all things, or at least I found it to be the most interesting, Donaghy ended up largely fixing games by calling it by the letter of the law.
That's hilarious.
So palming, right, which never gets called in the NBA, is like, I'm sorry, whoop, that's a palm.
And
right?
think about
he would do stuff like that.
And if you wanted to, forget the NBA, I know the limits are higher, but like just a college basketball game, that's not even a highly public, not Duke, Arizona, but you go to NC Greensboro and you say, you know what? We are going to call fouls very liberally here. So any kind of contact, by the letter of the law, it's a foul, right?
Yeah.
Both teams go into the bonus 6 minutes in. Wishnev's texting. They're both in the bonus. Get over the first half, but you already knew about that. So you were already playing. One of the coaches complains, tee him up.
Yeah.
No more free throws. More from both sides. It's unbiased.
So easy.
Neither team's going to complain. They're like, you know what? It's like an umpire that has a strike zone that is like super, super small. It's like for both teams, it's fair. No one's going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we will get to Steve's. One of the staples of his appearances here on A Numbers Game has been look ahead, so we'll get to that in the next segment. But as far as how your bets from last week to this week, are you ahead of line movement on all these?
Yeah, I got a summary here. So I got the Carolina Panthers plus 11.5. So this is a great example where right now I'm beating the number. It's 11, but I'm not beating it by enough. So I'm getting what they would call closing line value. But closing line value is not sufficient to win because I have to not just beat the closing line, but buy enough for it to be profitable. And the market line's 11. So it's not a bad bet, but it's not a good bet. Similarly, we played the Eagles minus 2.5, but we laid them minus 120. And now the Eagles are at 2.85. I don't know if you know, I invented the decimal point spread.
Pretty familiar with it.
I brought that up before, right? But
outlandish claims. That's right.
Meaning there's more 2.5s than 3s, but basically there's VIG, to associate with it. So that's kind of like slightly better than market, but not enough to beat to get the closing line value. But the totals was where we really did well. Titans, Texans played under 42.5. It's down to 40.
Okay.
That's a good one. Of course, it was a good one to play the under on last night's game. How'd that work out? And Baltimore Chargers, this one's our golden ticket. We got over 47, and it's currently at 51.
You agree with me that Mike Tomlin does not get enough guff for when he messes up, right?
Well, and I text all the time. We've got the politically incorrect text chain. I'm like, why is everyone giving Mike Tomlin a hard time for all these bad decisions? He makes one bad decision. He doesn't have an analytics team that tells him what to do. Mike, you don't kick a field goal here. Well, I'll explain why later. Or they can say, hey, this one's too close to call. do whatever you want.
That was amazing. When he ran out the field goal team at that point, I was like, what are you doing?
Earlier in the game, the 58-yarder. It's like, we know that's not going to be good. Yeah. Everyone knows it. A sharp fifth grader knows that's a mistake.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Terrible.
So bad. Let's read some tweets. We get tweets at Beating the Book. It's been a while since I read some, for God's sakes. JC at JC562076. The Cal-Stanford rivalry is dead here. Don't know why they promote so much in the media. Oh, dude, it was funny even in the best of times to me. Mark Maynor. Hey, Gill, does Fezzik have a Blue Sky account? And if he was off Twitter, would he be nice both online and off? This is a great question. Are you familiar with Blue Sky?
Yeah, I just heard about it. So that's everyone who hates Elon Musk is trying to take over and get a piece of the action. Right?
The best line about Blue Sky is it's Twitter for empaths. So my answer to you, I'll just answer in front of Steve. Nah, he wouldn't be nice on there either because he's not an empath. Empath is not your thing. That's not your.
I have empathy.
Okay.
Me too.
Maybe you do. Kevin Ryan. I completely agree with Fezzik that the Sport Trade CEO, when he was on the other day, was a bit confusing. I have gambled my whole life, but I didn't really understand when he was talking about percentages. Dummy it down for us. I like that from Fezzik. You dummied it down.
So the dummy down is that some people struggle with the American pricing, but we in the desert, we love American pricing. So when we say minus 160, that's clear to all of us. But for somebody else, when they want to break it down to when a team like a minus 150 is a 60% chance of winning as a break even is where he was going. Yeah.
Rhodes at Rhodes knows. I don't believe Matthew Holt works for U.S. Integrity anymore. I don't know if he does or not, but he did at the time. Last year,
he worked. That's his company. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't work for them. He is them.
He is them.
Yes.
New York Mess 16. My greatest oddity of tennis betting that can lead to the greatest "quote unquote" fixing opportunity. Oh yeah, this is great. Is that the dog can win outright, yet the favorite can still cover the spread. Yeah, it's a very true thing, right? If it's 7-6, 1-6, 7-6.
Yeah, so when Gilly and I play, Gilly is a 4.5 point favorite. We played at 21, and it's amazing how when it's 20-14, how I can win like the next 2 points, and then when it's 20-16, I'm suddenly facing Nadal in his prime.
Thank you so much for that comparison. Michael Baum, I love listening to Fezzik. Definitely needs to hook up with Todd Wishnev for their own show. How do you think that would go?
A lot of interruptions.
Oh, my God. Todd on the Megapod, I'm Beating the Book Megapod, which I encourage everybody to listen to. He's trying to ask Aaron Schatz a question. The preamble to the question is like 90 seconds, and he won't let Aaron answer it.
And the irony is when he goes on with an Aaron Schatz or a pioneer like Dr. Bob, and Todd is just magical and so inventive and so smart. But, research and development is not like his top priority. And I don't think he realizes how many hours are being crunched with this data and he's like, nah, the Redskins weren't the best team of all time in 1993.
Jason Stark, rough loss last night. He concedes, but in admittedly difficult spot with Tomlin with only 3 days since Ravens game. But I'll take Tomlin's occasional game management mistakes for his ability to get the most out of his players. Just look at what happened to guys like AB and Bell after they left. Well, there's no doubt about that, Jason. Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell never heard from again, quote unquote. Well, we heard from Antonio Brown, but not the way you wanted to. Okay, a couple things before we get to your look aheads. One, and I'm glad you brought it up because I would have forgotten. Oh, no, let me get to that second. First, while Drew Dinsick was on this week, he was talking about how he is not a true believer. I'm softening this a little bit. He's not a true believer in the Detroit Lions. Meanwhile, most of us, by the way, is this true that Daniel Jones has been released, guys? Tell me if that's true. He was talking about how he's not a true believer in the Detroit Lions. Meanwhile, Aaron Schatz, just to use one person with power rankings, he's got his DVOA, granular, every single play at the NFL level since 1979. Daniel Jones, by the way, it is confirmed, released by the New York Giants per his request.
Maybe he and McCarthy can hang out at the Ponderosa.
This is what I was talking about earlier, man. You start making me play safety in practice, and okay. So there's that. Daniel Jones has moved on, and the New York Giants have moved on from him. Back to the Lions. Aaron Schatz, his historical DVOA numbers. 2001 Patriots. This is through 10 games of an NFL season. Mm-hmm. 2007 Patriots, number 1. 1991 Washington Redskins, number 2. Those are also his 2 greatest teams of all time, reversed if you include the playoffs.
Not the Bears?
91 Skins, no. 91 Skins, followed by the 2007 Patriots. His third best team through 10 games all time being back to 1979, these 2024 Detroit Lions. Drew isn't completely convinced. You texted me during Drew's appearance, and you said what?
Yeah, Detroit Lions are going to win the Super Bowl.
You're convinced.
Oh, well, I guess there's a 10% chance maybe they won't. 90%. But no, they clearly are not just the best team, but by margin. So I've got them a point and a half better than anyone else. And, to be fair, the whale was in Central California. That's the breadbasket of America,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is.
So
right.
when you
Thanks
think
for
about
listening.
it, that is not a good spot for the whale to be inland like that. So I think he was off because he was like not by the ocean like he normally. Like, you notice the whale's always in Hawaii.
Well,
or on the coast.
Drew Densick lives a great life. But no, I mean, I understand what his point was. Hey, they get a road game in Philly in January. Who knows? I get that point.
Yeah, how are they going to get a road game when they're going to win 15 games and they're going to be the number one seed? I mean, like they are. I know they got a couple difficult games, but the point is that their over under I think is 13.5, and everybody and Philly is like 12. I mean, they're very likely to get the number one seed.
I'm with you. I've got them as my number one as well. Okay, the other thing, F1. We have to say this because you were captain. I hate these people last year. And you were right. Right? I live in the middle of the strip. It was pure living hell, and it's a 10-year deal. So we're like, dear God, if this happens every one of these 10 years, we're all screwed. You have to admit it was better this year.
It's way better, but it's still a boondoggle. The construction companies are giving kickbacks to our commission. It's the only thing that makes sense because you can ask Derek Stevens and Mike Palm. I don't think they're making any more money, and they have all this inconvenience. If I ran for mayor and I said I'm going to get rid of the F1, everyone who lived on the strip or everyone who worked on the strip would vote for me. I'd be the mayor.
Yes, that's very true. A one-issue campaign.
Exactly right. Because literally last year when I was driving into the strip, it was like the Fellowship of the Ring, Geek Alert. I'm like, how do I get to Gondor? Moria, dare I risk the Balrog of the I-15? That's the path I guess I got to choose. Let the ring bearer decide.
I have no idea what just happened the last 10, 15 seconds. I understood none of that. But you're right that the only casinos that benefit are the high brand ones that are right on line with F1, with Formula One, which is the win. And even
then, it's very nebulous because you've got 3 boondoggle days versus like 2 months of unhappy customers.
That's true. Okay, it's a lot easier for me though. I will say that. Okay, your look-aheads for Week 13 in the National Football League.
Let's go. Thanksgiving Day, Miami Dolphins plus 3.5. You get this at reduced VIG. These are all DraftKings. Minus 105, so Dolphins plus 3.5 at Green Bay. I have Green Bay just the slightly better team. I can't even get to 3 on this game, so I got to take the 3.5. Got to take the hook. And a game Miami will need like blood.
Taking Miami plus 3.5 against Green Bay next week.
Yes.
Okay.
These are all go.
These are all go.
These are not setups and go. These we are betting the Miami Dolphins.
Put it in your bet slip, and they're all goes. All right, pick number 2 of 3, I believe this is.
Number
right?
2. I don't even think you have a sense of urgency. I think you can bet this next week, but I wanted to speak about it because I can ruin Gill's guessing line segment next week. Don't remember this.
No, you know what? It's funny. I don't remember any of it.
This one you'll remember.
Yeah.
So Philly is at Baltimore. Philly plus 3. It's a go. And what a great spot for the Eagles. Power rating wise, I only make the game right around 2.5, and I'm getting 3. But the spot is great for Philly. Why? Not because it's great for Philly. It's terrible for Baltimore. The battle of the Harbaughs. Monday Night Football. Big game. Now a short week for Baltimore coming home. Philly, easy travel during the week for them to go from Philly to Baltimore. We'll take Philly plus the 3.
Philly plus the 3 against Baltimore. Man, do I love Baltimore this Monday night in the Harbaugh Bowl. Give me John. Minus the points. Minus 2.5. And then number 3, look ahead, Week 13.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. Cleveland, we just saw those guys.
We did.
And we saw their total against Pittsburgh was 36.5 to 37, and it soared over in like a mega Cyclone Bowl. Now they're playing Denver with Bo Nix playing much better. We're going over the 40. So think about this. We just saw Cleveland play Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a dead nut under. That total opened 41.5. Okay. Game still went over with the weather. Well, maybe there's going to be a snowstorm in Denver. Too early to tell. But if there isn't, 40 is way too low. And the National Football League, I tell you what, the days of seeing any totals in the 30s are donezo without weather. So over the 40.
It's really true. It takes that to get. What was normal 20 years ago, would you say?
Oh,
we had tons of 30s.
I'm going to go back 30 years ago. Like, I think the average total was like 38. It used to be like, remember the defensive lineman could like pretend to punch the offensive lineman. If they flinched, then there would be a flag on the offense.
That's right. Remember those Ravens Steelers games were like 34s all the time?
Yeah, and every one of them 16-13, 19-16 final score.
That's right. Steve, always a pleasure, man. Your appearances are great. I appreciate it.
I'm honored for you have me on each and every morning.
Come on, man. Steve Fezzik at Fezzik Sports. If you're brave, at Fezzik Sports. Shrapnel
Blue sky coming. Blue sky.
Oh, no, please don't pollute blue sky. Please don't do that.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.